A man bought his place in Cumberland County, Pennsylvania, with no idea what mysteries that property held. One winter morning while walking his land, he discovered something that would challenge everything he thought he knew about the local wildlife. Down below in the melting snow lay a single massive track, stretching an impressive 17 inches when he laid his measuring tape beside it. Of course, he was puzzled by the size of the print, but also the fact that there was only one, a single solitary print. As he searched the soft ground around it, he found himself growing more bewildered. No accompanying tracks, no trail leading to or from the impression. With dumpsters nearby, his first thought was of bears, a natural scavenger drawn to an easy meal. But that didn't seem to add up, because where were the telltale claw marks? Bears will typically leave front and rear paw prints behind. The more he tried to investigate, the more his own footprints began compromising the scene. He took a minute, standing there beside his weathered green storage shed, surrounded by melting snow and winter brown leaves. He couldn't shake the feeling that something far more unusual than a bear had passed through his property that night. What do you guys think? How could there just be a single massive print and no other trace? When Duffy Springfield shared her unsettling photo on Reddit with the simple question, "Is that a hand?" she had no idea the stir it would create. The image spread like wildfire through online communities, each person offering their own interpretation of what was captured on that lonely mountaintop in West Virginia. The thing is, as most of us know, in the Appalachian Mountains, stories like this are woven into the very fabric of the landscape. These ancient peaks and valleys have long been a hotbed for strange sightings and unexplained encounters. I mean, ask any local, they'll tell you these tales are passed down through generations. Unexplained footprints, mysterious figures and disappearances, even sounds that echo through the valleys that just don't quite fit any known creature. For Duffy and her boyfriend, what started as a simple hiking photo turned into their own chapter in this ongoing mountain mystery. Speaking with Newsweek, the couple seemed more intrigued than frightened by their discovery. I guess that's the magic of these mountains. You never know when you might stumble across something that blurs the line between fact and folklore. Man, I can't even tell you how many times I scrolled right past this video. At first glance, it just looked like another AI creation or someone messing around with Photoshop. But then I heard this take from Squatch Watchers, and it completely changed how I looked at it. Get this. What if we're actually watching a young Sasquatch slipping between dimensions? I know it sounds wild, but up in Alaska, they've been talking about this idea of killer Bigfoot being multidimensional for years. And if you think about it, it would explain why these massive creatures seem to vanish into thin air during encounters. No tracks, no trace, just gone. I mean, I could be convinced either way, but if these beings can really hop between different realities, this footage might be one of the first times we've actually caught one mid-shift. Look at the way he highlights the photo on his phone, outlining a clear creature. It's not just a head, it has a jagged tail like it's coming out of that tree. Nevertheless, whether you buy into it or not, it's probably the most interesting explanation I've heard for this footage. So check this out. Last December, somebody's security camera picked up something pretty wild in their backyard. And I've got to tell you, when people started shouting fairy in the comments, I didn't roll my eyes like I usually do, because I actually see what they're talking about. I kinda see a fairy too. And look, I'm not exactly a fairy expert here, but I got curious and did some digging. Turns out these little creatures are deeply woven into European folklore, especially those old Celtic stories. Picture these tiny natured spirits just hanging out in the hidden corners of our world. Sometimes helping humans out, sometimes messing with them just for laughs. They can be looked at as like nature's little wild cards. Might help you grow your garden, might lead you on a wild goose chase. Nevertheless, do you think we're looking at something magical, or are we just looking at a bug? A video posted in May of 2024 shows a ghastly sight. And my initial reaction was that it's fake. But I'm not so sure. It just may not be what it's claiming to be. Let's check it out. The title of the clip said that this was a humanoid creature caught on a security cam. Yeah, there was something caught on a security cam, alright, but I really just think Becky got drunk. Which leads me to my next point. I'm not sure which is scary, if that was actually a humanoid creature, or if my suspicions are correct, that is just a person naked on the camera. I'm assuming this footage was sped up. If not, that's even creepier. I mean, she's really wheeling and dealing. She takes that corner and almost spins out. Someone said maybe she escaped from a loony bin, and I honestly had never thought of that. But let me know, you have to pick one. Which would be scarier? If this was actually a humanoid zombie or a mentally deranged person? In 1975, an extraordinary encounter shook our family farm in Mall, Idaho. This story, told by Kelly Lee, was passed on to the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization. I was just 15 when our horses started acting strangely at twilight, their panic spreading to our dogs. The moment I opened our door, our terrified dogs bolted inside, taking shelter under the stairs and refusing to budge. Grabbing our 30-06, I headed toward the hog pen, initially thinking we had a bear problem. What happened next still makes me nauseous. This massive creature had one of our 275-pound hogs tucked under its arm like it was nothing. I took a shot thinking I was dealing with the bear, but there ain't a bear around that can clear a 5-foot barbed wire fence while carrying a full-grown hog. We'd been having issues with bears getting drunk off our fermented feed mixture. 3 55-gallon barrels filled with grain, water, and dairy products that would turn into something like moonshine in the summer heat. But this was something else entirely. When daylight came, we tracked the blood trail to Fort Creek Lake before losing it. What we'd encountered was no ordinary creature, standing about 8 feet tall with shoulders spanning 4 feet wide. It had effortlessly escaped with our hog despite taking a bullet. Kelly Lee adds that she's spotted similar creatures in Aberdeen, Washington, and now lives in Ontario, Oregon. She still watches the wilderness, wondering when she'll encounter another one. Absolutely not. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh, what was that? Is that a bat? It's gotta be. Look at the guy's face too. You can already tell he's stressed out. The caption on this said, "New fear unlocked." Amen to that. A lot of people have said they can't see this one, but if you look closely, you can see the dark hairy creature moving through the woods. And this guy seems to think it's a Bigfoot. Yes. Yes. And while we're all having trouble seeing it, this lady has no problem. Video caught on a security cam around 5 a.m. shows a misty figure whipping by the camera. The OP has no idea what it is. I mean, to me, it looks like a ghost, but if I'm trying to be more logical, maybe a camera malfunction that showed a dog or a small deer? Ah, that's what it is. It's a reindeer. I'll be damned. That was Rudolph. One specific guy in the comments says that no, you just caught a bug on camera, but doesn't give any explanation. I mean, that doesn't look like a bug at all to me. Can someone explain that? Another kind of similar clip posted. The guy who captured the footage has no idea what it could be. We see what looks like a drone flying around. We can see the 2 mini lights right there. When you go to the comments, everyone says it's a bug or a spider web. Again, to me, it looks like there's something flying there. And then it zips off into the woods. Mr. Later in the comments wrote, "I have seen the same kind of thing for a year straight and it happens 3 to 4 times a week. Sometimes it'll just move in front of the camera for hours and stay there. Nobody that I show the video to has a clue. Good luck." What's up, Link? I've been meaning to write to you for some time now after hearing the last encounter that a viewer sent in. I figured you and the viewers might appreciate what happened to me in the Laurel Highlands region of southwestern Pennsylvania. This was back in late October of 2021. I remember the leaves had just started to turn. I've lived here my whole life and I'm pretty familiar with the wildlife. Deer, black bears, coyotes, you name it. There are always rumors about strange sightings in this area, especially near Chestnut Ridge. But honestly, I never gave them much serious thought. Well, this whole fiasco started late one Saturday night. I'd just left my cousin's place near Ligonier. We'd been watching hockey, go Pens, and catching up over a few beers. I wasn't drunk or anything. My cousin, he's more of a lightweight than me, jokes that we can barely get through 2 beers before we're both about to fall asleep. Anyway, I was driving home on Route 711, heading south toward my place off a back road that branches toward the foothills. The sky was clear, no moon that I recall, but the stars were out, and it was that kind of crisp autumn air that feels really good. Right before I hit the turnoff for my road, I saw movement along the tree line. My high beams caught a pair of glowing eyes. My mind kind of went to, watch out for that deer. But then my mind caught up and realized, whoa, that's much taller than a deer. Something standing on two legs, hunched over, almost as if it was startled by my headlights. I slowed down instinctively, thinking this must be a person. But then I realized no human I know has that kind of outline. The shoulders seemed wider, the legs looked weirdly shaped, almost jointed in a strange way. And there was a definite muzzle or snout. This was not a bear's face, not even close. For half a second, I thought maybe it was some kind of big dog, a mutant dog. But I couldn't figure out why a dog would be upright. My mind was just racing. Now, when I was younger, my granddad used to tell me about people spotting weird upright canines near here. I always chalked that up to just folklore or him kind of messing with me. I remember my mother trying to get him to stop telling me these stories. Now, I have to say, I didn't get a perfect look because this thing, it darted off into the woods so fast. And I was truly questioning what I saw. The biggest thing was, once it moved, there was this feeling in my gut that I can only really describe as dread. Looking back, in hindsight, I think that feeling was my brain and body recognizing that whatever this was, it was not a normal creature. Maybe it was just my nerves talking, but I've seen plenty of animals cross the road at night and none of them ever set me on edge like that. The next day, I mentioned it in passing to a carpenter that's building a barn for me in my backyard. He told me a story he'd heard from his dad back in the 90s about some wolfman sightings along certain stretches of woods near the Somerset side. He was telling me stories of local government official hush-ups. Basically, they didn't want the word to get out. But don't quote me on that, I haven't officially heard that myself. But given that southwestern Pennsylvania has always had its share of strange legends, UFO reports, Bigfoot sightings near Derry, etc., I guess it's not that far-fetched for folks around here to believe in all sorts of unexplained things. Before anyone asks, I didn't report this to any authorities because I wasn't even sure what to say. Excuse me, officer, but I saw a giant wolf-like creature standing on two legs near the side of the road. They'd probably think I was either making it up or had too many drinks. And to be honest, I'm not much for drawing attention to myself. I do keep replaying it in my head, though. You know how sometimes you see something for just a second, but you can picture it in your mind for days afterward? Yeah, that's exactly how it is with me right now. My cousin brought up that maybe it was just a deer with mange or a weird coyote with some kind of infection. But I know what deer look like, and I know what coyotes look like. This was something else. A couple of weeks later, I drove by the same area in daylight and looked around for any tracks. At this time, the leaves had fallen, so if there were footprints, they'd be long gone or impossible to see. I did, however, stop at a nearby gas station to grab coffee and casually asked the cashier if anyone had mentioned strange animal sightings recently. She was young and she gave me this kind of blank stare and said she'd heard about bears wandering closer to the main roads, but nothing unusual. Didn't want to push the subject too hard, so I just let it drop. My next step is to look to see if there's any old local story or newspaper articles from decades ago about these things. My grandfather, who passed in 2017, used to talk about hearing unearthly howls on certain summer nights. I always assumed it was just coyotes or maybe someone's hound dog. Now I'm not so sure. I've spent countless hours hunting and fishing around the Yuccoguini River and the woods near the state parks. Never have I ever seen anything that remotely looked like what I saw that night. It still gives me chills. Anyway, I hope this finds you well, Lincoln. I know you get a ton of stories, and I'm not claiming to have any irrefutable proof of anything. I didn't even take a picture. But I wanted to share my experience in case it helps someone else who might have seen something similar. Feel free to use this in any way you see fit. I'm really just curious if anyone else has had the same encounter around here. I'd rather not have my name out there, so if you do share it, just keep me anonymous, please. Thanks for reading through my rambling report. Let me know if you need any other details or if anyone else out there has corroborating stories about large, upright canines in southwestern Pennsylvania. Best regards.